The offices of the news portal NewsClick were raided today by the Delhi Police Special Cell. Over 100 locations were searched in Delhi, the wider national capital region, and Mumbai. The Delhi Police has put out a statement just moments ago saying that over 30 individuals associated with NewsClick, many of them journalists, contributors, editors, were questioned today in various locations in either their residence or offices, or some of them were even brought to the Delhi Police Special Cell stations. Now, the question that is being asked, and many questions are being asked to all of these journalists who are part of NewsClick, who are contributors to NewsClick. Many of their mobiles and laptops have been seized. The founder, Prabir Purkayastha, has just been arrested moments ago, along with an HR executive. Delhi police sources are saying that the investigation, this current investigation and these raids today, were born from an FIR that was registered on the 17th of August. The genesis of that FIR was an ED probe that's been going on against NewsClick for the better part of the last 2 years. NewsClick promoters and editors allegedly received more than 38 crore rupees from Chinese sources, and that the government is only in favor of a free and fair and open investigation. The journalists in question, as well as various press associations, the Editors Guild, other journalist bodies have come out and roundly condemned the actions of the Modi government, calling it yet another illustration of the muzzling of press freedoms under the Modi Sarkar. The India Alliance has also come out and backed the journalists of NewsClick. The question that's being asked, is this a valid probe? If laws of the land have been violated, are journalists above it? Should they not be the subject of an investigation? Or is this a witch hunt, as the India Alliance is alleging, as the journalists in question are alleging? Is this a witch hunt and a demonstration yet again of how India has slipped under this government over the last 9 years in various press freedom indices? But first, the story of what happened today.
देखिए, मुझे जस्टिफाई करने की जरूरत नहीं। अगर किसी ने गलत किया है तो उसके ऊपर जांच एजेंसियां काम करती हैं।
अब तो बीभत्स स्वरूप आ गया कि जो इसके बाद भी बोलेगा, हम नौकरी से उसे उसके चैनल से निकलवा देंगे। बाहर निकल के अगर वो स्वतंत्र रूप से बोलेगा तो फिर हम उसको गिरफ्तार करेंगे, और इस तरह गिरफ्तार करेंगे कि जल्दी जमानत भी ना हो सके। ये आने वाले चुनाव के पहले भारतीय जनता पार्टी सरकार सारे पत्रकारों को संदेश दे रही है।
Currently the BJP government, they don't like to listen to the voice of the opposition. It's not for the first time that it is taking place with the media. It proves BJP is scared of real news, and BJP is simply like run away from the real facts.
मैं समझता हूं इससे ज्यादा दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण और दुर्भावनापूर्ण कार्रवाई ठीक गांधी जयंती के पश्चात कोई नहीं हो सकती। क्यों कह रहे हैं आप? दिल्ली पुलिस गृह मंत्री के अंदर है, उनकी मर्जी के बगैर पत्ता हिलता है। जो लोग आपसे सवाल पूछे, जो आपकी भजन मंडली में शामिल होने से इनकार करते, आप उनके साथ, ये आपका स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर हो गया। एक फासिस्ट स्टेट की जितनी उसके अवयव होते हैं, सब आप में विद्यमान है। क्या नजीर पेश कर रहे हैं आप? अगर मैं आपातकाल के उस छोटे से दौर को छोड़ दूं, आज तक आजाद हिंदुस्तान में किसी भी सरकार ने अपनी आलोचना करने वालों के प्रति इस प्रकार की दुर्भावनापूर्ण वेंडेटा की कार्रवाई की।
All right, so let me just give you a sequence of events as they played out today. From 6 o'clock in the morning, there were reports of journalists associated either in a freelance capacity or in a more permanent capacity with NewsClick being raided. Raids were conducted in over 100 places in Delhi, the national capital region, as well as in Mumbai. Now, the section's NewsClick editor, Prabir Purkayastha, he was grilled, and just moments before the show began, the Delhi police officially confirmed that he was arrested. Now, 8 other journalists were also raided and questioned. Many of them were asked to come to the Lodi Road police station in central Delhi. They were questioned for a good 10 hours plus. Teesta Setalwad, who was facing a case for conspiracy of the Gujarat riots of 2002, she was questioned as well. Her premises was raided. Sitaram Yechuri, the Communist Party Marxist General Secretary, his house was searched as well because apparently there was an employee of NewsClick who was living in that house. The Delhi Police Special Cell has seized various electronic devices, mobile phones and laptops of these journalists in question. And like I said, just moments before the show began, the Delhi Police has put out a press release saying that Prabir Purkayastha, who's the founder of NewsClick and the founder editor of NewsClick, he's been arrested. Amit Chakrabarti, who is an HR executive, has also been arrested. Now, what exactly are the specific charges against Prabir Purkayastha and Amit Chakrabarti and these various journalists who were raided today? Section 16 of the UAPA, which is for carrying out a terrorist act. Section 17 of the UAPA, which is raising funds, raising money for terrorist acts or for a terrorist organization. There is Section 18 of the UAPA, conspiracy to carry out a terror plot. Then there is Section 22 of the UAPA, which is offences by various companies which are of a terrorist nature. This is, of course, what the Delhi police is claiming as per sources is there, the sections that have been listed in the FIR against Prabir Purkayastha and others of NewsClick. Now, this has been criticized first by the India Alliance. They have come out and said that this is yet another illustration of the Modi government muzzling press freedoms. It has slammed the actions as a crackdown on free speech. But this is what government sources are saying as far as this probe is concerned, that it's less about journalism and free speech, it is about the sovereignty of India. Government sources also saying that NewsClick was getting funding from China and from the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government, and that is an assault on India's sovereignty. Government sources also saying that these so-called journalists were paid to spread Chinese propaganda. And they also stress that it's important to secure evidence in the form of electronic evidence through laptops and mobile phones, and only then can the investigation get to the root of the matter. They need to look at every record available to try and prevent any tampering of evidence. But, like I said, the India Alliance has come out with a statement condemning this, and so have various press associations, chief and foremost of that being the Editors Guild of India, which has released a statement taking a stand against these raids on NewsClick. The Editors Guild has said, and I quote from it, deeply concerned over the raids at the homes of various journalists. Senior journalists have been arrested for allegedly questioning the government and its various policies. These raids are in connection to a FIR under draconian sections of the Unlawful Activities of Prevention Act. We are concerned as the Editors Guild that these raids are an attempt to muzzle the media. The probe must not create an atmosphere of intimidation. The government must ensure that the media is respected and protected. This is the Editors Guild statement. So, where does this story stand and where is it likely to move forward? Is this a valid probe? Should journalists be allowed to be above the law of the land? Or is this a demonstration of the muzzling of press freedom? Syed Zafar Islam is national spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Ajoy Kumar is national spokesperson of the Congress Party. Nalan Mehta, author and columnist, joining us, and also Sanjeev Srivastav, senior journalist. Syed Zafar Islam, let me start with you. I just read out the Editors Guild statement. Many journalists through the day have been criticizing this action. They are saying that, well, if you want to go after journalists, if people have taken money from China and the Chinese Communist Party, please by all means do that. But how do you justify raids under draconian provisions of the UAPA? What has terrorism got to do with whatever crimes that NewsClick and its founders and its journalists are accused of?
Zaka, I would recommend and request everyone who is making this kind of statement that they should wait for the police investigation to be over. There is a tacit understanding and they are extremely well connected. The NewsClick people who are working for NewsClick, there are people in China and of course the Gharbandya alliance, the opposition parties. They have taken money from China. They want disruption. They want to disrupt the very congenial environment in the country. They want to create friction within the community. They want to break the nation. They are working against the interests of the nation. And under such circumstances, when you have so much proof, that's why I'm saying that it is for everyone to see the investigation, wait for the investigation to over and get the reality, get all the details before making this kind of a statement, because there are people who are working. See, you can be against the government. You can put the government in the dock, but you cannot have understanding with the foreign nation, any foreign countries, and work against the interests of the nation. So there are many information which and the leads which the police has, which the government has, and I'm sure that the decision which has been taken to investigate them, to arrest them, and I'm sure this will give you full clarity after the investigation is over. So I would only request this, whether it's Editors Guild or for that matter anybody who's making this kind of a statement must wait, because these people were working against the interests of the nation.
So Dr. Ajay Kumar, Delhi police sources saying that from their investigation, and this investigation, may I point to our viewers, was born of a New York Times piece that came out back in August, which alleged that a gentleman, a US billionaire named Neville Roy Singham, who had very deep connections with the Chinese Communist Party, had routed as much as 38 crores, and that too illegally, to NewsClick and its founders. This money had Chinese sources which were questionable, and in return what Neville Roy Singham wanted was favorable coverage for the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party. Should this not be investigated? Why are the journalists or this news website, are they above the law of this land? If there is indeed money that has changed hands and there is a money trail that links itself between Neville Roy Singham and the Chinese Communist Party going to various news portals, including NewsClick, as has been outlined in this New York Times piece, is that not a matter that should be investigated?
So the first question is, if it was 2013, Zaka, you would have been screaming and everybody have been screaming that the government of India has crossed all limits of press freedom. I really feel bad when we are so subdued. Honestly speaking, very sad, but fact is you need to be subdued. We don't know who will be sent to jail and when. When it was any time before 2014. So power to Mr. Modi. We have 161 out of 180 countries in the press freedom. Power to Mr. Modi again. And your New York Times, Delhi police is, every time I find that they're getting more, they cannot get more, what you call, less mentation, or the behavior is totally insane. New York Times did a story that Modi is dividing India. Did we have a case against Mr. Modi? New York Times did a story that the WHO figures of 4.7 million people have died due to COVID. India is fudging the numbers. Did we do a case against the health minister? No. New York Times has said that the Bharatiya Janata Party is suppressing press freedom. We are not doing a case. So if you want to do New York Times, let's do New York Times. So leave aside New York Times. The second issue is, Mr. Kappan, the journalist, and Syed Zafar Islam, G has to defend, a party where their own MPs talks so highly of the community, what Biduri says, and despite that he needs to defend press freedom. It's insane. I'm absolutely aghast with the nonsense I have to hear today. Kappan was arrested for 5,000 rupees of money laundering. 5,000 rupees of money laundering. And the Prime Minister's Care Fund took 10 crores from TikTok, 1 crore from Xiaomi. I got the numbers here. I need to read the PMK fund, which is not transparent. The RSS has sent a visiting team to China. So my question is, what Prime Minister should answer on Prime Minister's Care Fund, make it transparent. How much Chinese companies gave? Would you take the same? You're undermining the integrity of India because Mr. Modi, Prime Minister's Care Fund, definitely took money from Xiaomi, TikTok. It's in public domain.
No,
So
Dr. Ajay Kumar, there are two parts to this. One is that the government is alleging, and this is again, I don't want to keep going back to the New York Times piece, but Neville Roy Singham is someone who has deep connections with the Chinese Communist Party. And that story outlines the number of occasions Neville Roy Singham has met with Prabir Purkayastha as well as others of NewsClick, the amount of money that has been transferred from Neville Roy Singham's accounts to the accounts of various news portals, including that of NewsClick. So there is a distinction between that and what is Chinese companies donating to a CARES fund, number one. Number two, the BJP is also asking this, and they've been asking the Congress party this for a while now. What about this secret MOU that Rahul Gandhi allegedly signed in 2008 between the Chinese Communist Party and the Congress Party? The BJP is saying there is an umbilical cord between the Congress Party and the Chinese Communist Party, which is why today also, after the raids, it's the Congress Party and the India Alliance that have come to defend NewsClick and the journalists.
First of all, Zafar Islam ji said Ghamandi Alliance. I can say he's a Gunda Alliance, Gunda, Ganda Alliance, Ganda. Kuch bhi bol do Zafar bhai, kuch bhi. You can say anything, I can also say anything. Doesn't bode good, na? So please hold your, be more courteous. And I can't call you Gunda and Ganda. I can also say it. How will you feel? You'll feel bad. So please stop it. The second issue is, look at the data. Nitin Gadkari as a 2011 sent up people to Chinese Communist Party's plenary session. RSS sent. Yeah, walk kare to, very good, they have had, and I want to tell you that I'm pulling out the China Associated International Fund for Developing Relationship with the Bharatiya Janata Party. The Vivekananda Fund has a cell where all the BJP top guys are there. Amit Shah sent a group of MLA to study the Chinese in 2014 to the School of China training. No questions to Amit Shah, bhai sahab. No question, because it is not 2013 Zaka, it is 2014, and Modi ji can put anybody in jail.
Okay.
So, apple to apple, let us do this. No, let us do it on your TV show tomorrow. All the issues with the Bharatiya Janata Party went to the Communist Party and Congress. Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani.
So Zafar Islam responded to that.
Liars.
And also,
that is what I'm saying.
The larger question, I asked you this earlier as well. Please explain to our viewers why Section 13, 16, 17, 18 and 22 of the UAPA, which deals with association with a terrorist outfit, planning for a terrorist attack, how are these charges valid on journalists? You can accuse them of hawala, you can accuse them of money laundering, all of that is fine, but how is terrorism charges valid? Zafar.
Look, there are three journalists.
Zafar,
as I said earlier.
Zafar, please, thank you. Yeah.
But
one sec. You asked me. So
Zaka, as I said earlier.
It's me or
let me respond.
I'm asking Zafar. I'm asking Zafar.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Zafar. Go ahead. Yeah.
So as I said earlier, no problem. I heard you. What kind of journalism they were doing? Is it called journalism? When you are paid by another country for a specific purpose, and the purpose is propaganda against the nation, and who is the beneficiary? Is it going to be your own nation? It's only the company, the NewsClick, the agency, and the Chinese, the counterpart for whom he is working, or they were working. So it is important for everyone to understand that whatever section will be applied, it will be eventually applied based on the evidence they have, and the information they have, the leads they have gathered. And I'm sure that's why I said that it is premature to make this kind of a statement. I think let the Delhi police do the thorough investigation and come up with all the details which you are.
And what about the charges that Dr. Ajay said about your party? You also have connections and MOUs with the Chinese Communist Party. That's what Dr. Ajay alleged. Dr. Ajay is not aware that they have received so much donation. Rajiv Gandhi Foundation has received donation and they have signed an MOU. Have we signed an MOU? We haven't signed an MOU. We have not received any donation from them.
One sec.
But they have received donation. Can they deny that?
Oh, really?
Can they deny that? They have received. So they have Chinese Communist Party have given donation to Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, and they cannot deny that. They definitely have some kind of a tacit understanding between Chinese Communist Party, the NewsClick, and of course,
I want to bring the debate back on the rails. So let me go to Nalin Mehta as well as to Sanjeev Srivastava. Nalin Mehta, this whole argument that a government or a political party in power goes after journalists, misuses laws, uses draconian provisions, that's a bit rich because all parties do it. Opposition ruled states are doing it even now. When the UPA was in power, there were instances of journalists being picked up again unfairly. I can just list out a few instances. Just a few days ago, there was an FIR against one of our colleagues, Abhijit Majumdar, who's a columnist, who's an opinion piece writer for one of our sister publications here at Network 18. Tamil Nadu police landed up outside his residence in Delhi because he wrote a piece criticizing Udayanidhi Stalin and his comments on Sanatan Dharma. In 2012, Mamata Banerjee arrested a cartoonist by name Asim Trivedi for cartoons supportive of the India Against Corruption movement. In 2005 in Punjab, Gautam Dheer was arrested by the Punjab police after he wrote an article against an Inspector General of Police. So, and then of course, who can forget what happened in the emergency? To say that only one political party misuses provisions of the law and muzzles press freedoms, I'm not sure that is accurate. That's terribly rich because all political parties are doing it. You have to unmute, Nalin, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Zaka. No, I think you're right. I think this is, if the charge of excessive state power is to be made, hamam mein sab nange hain. This happens as the examples you pointed out illustrate. This is an issue in Mamata's Bengal. It's an issue in Telangana. It's an issue in multiple states. Having said that, two rights don't make a wrong, two wrongs don't make a right. I think in this case, we have to wait and see what the facts come out. The charges are very serious. UAPA has been invoked, section 13, 16, 18, 22, and 120B and 153A of the IPC. I think while we wait for the charge sheet or the charges and more details from the government, I mean, if you speak to any journalist today, but the fact of the matter is it has had a chilling effect. It disintensivizes a propensity to critique. Because see, what's happened is that I don't think anybody can defend illegality. There is clear, if there's illegality and there is question, they think of tens of hundreds of 10 to 70 crores of money laundering and so on. Charges are very serious. What's happened today is also that apart from the decision makers of the organization, a number of junior employees have also been questioned, graphics designers, consultants, and so on, contributors. We're not sure what their role in the organization is. And this certainly creates a chilling impact on those who, and I think this strengthens those who say that, look, this is the strong arm of the state.
Okay, Sanjeev Srivastava, again, like I said, no political party right from Mrs. Gandhi's time back in the emergency has particularly had any love for journalists, right? They've all used various provisions. Journalists were detained under MISA during the emergency, right? The Indian Express had to put out blank editorials as a sign of protest. So let's not get into, party A is better for journalists or more amenable to journalists or party B is less so, because everyone in power has done this in the past. But I think the larger question which Nalin also asked is, and I think this is a fair one, is as per the Delhi Police's own statement, 37 people have been interrogated today, all of them associated in some form or fashion with NewsClick. But the money trail, presuming that the Delhi Police has a money trail from the Chinese Communist Party through this man Neville Roy Singham, would have come to the owners and proprietors of this firm. And it's the owners and proprietors of that firm who would have paid journalists for their work, freelancers, contributors, etc. What was the point, or what was the message? Were they trying to send out a message, as Nalin says, about a chilling effect by questioning junior staff like graphic designers and sub-editors and so on, and not just the people who were allegedly the beneficiaries of this Chinese money?
Okay. So thank you, Zaka, for having me on the show. First of all, I really contest this view, which even Nalin said, hamam mein sab nange. So yes, there are the odd instances and there may be many instances, but even you, while you were asking him the question, could give three examples of Mamata Banerjee 2012 against your Abhijit Majumdar this year, and then 2005 Punjab, and then one has to go back 50 years to talk about the emergency. And for those 50 years back, what Indira Gandhi did in emergency, the party was roundly punished and thrown out of power. So they paid for their sins. The fact of the matter is that this government has a lot of people in their system who actually believe and talk about and chest thump about anybody who is opposing this government is anti-national. So there is a feeling of intimidation and fear amongst a lot of people. They don't want to speak their mind very, very openly. So that we should not forget, and the centre sets the precedent. Even if a Mamta does it or a Stalin does it, okay, that's very bad. Sharad Pawar, you could have given Sharad Pawar's example, of somebody put a Facebook post and that lady was arrested. So yes, these things happen, but the centre, the federal government should set a precedent, and they actually are setting the wrong kind of precedent. They're just too many of those cases happening.
Sanjeev, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you
point
what.
number one.
Let me come to that wall. I can give you a more recent example again from the India Alliance. The India Alliance recently took a decision to boycott 14 anchors. Now, I'm not going into the merits or demerits of it, right? But on principle, when you say we're going to boycott a certain set of anchors, how different are you from, I mean, it's almost like cancel culture, right? You're basically saying that, we're not going to come to these guys' shows because, they ask us uncomfortable questions, right? I mean, how different is that? Obviously, they're not the state, so they don't have the instruments of the state, whether it is police or investigating agencies, ED, CBI, etc. But it's not like these guys were holier than thou either. So to that extent, what Nalin said is right, that hamam mein sab nange hai.
You have a fair point, and I don't bat for the ban on anchors, though I can understand and somewhat empathize with the frustration of the India Alliance, because some of these anchors were really, they called them to the show, never allowed them to speak, asked them to shut up, were constantly humiliating them, and so we all know what the game was being played out, so let's not get into the debate, but in principle, that was a bad decision of India Alliance. They should not have imposed a ban. But how can you compare apples and oranges? How can a ban on some anchors be compared with slapping of UAPA provisions against a set of journalists? So, one point I completely agree with you is that the proprietor, whoever the Malik is, this Prabir gentleman or other people who are direct beneficiaries of the money trail which is coming. I was never interviewed by NewsClick, but suppose I was also interviewed a half a dozen times or 20 times. So then would I have been open to questioning? How is, I don't want to take names, but how is an Abhisar or Urmilesh or Paranjoy? I don't agree with them in most things. But how can I think of them as terrorists, Zaka?
Okay.
So it is a little far-fetched. That's the whole thing. And that is where and I think the Editors Guild statement today is very tempered and very well calibrated. They have condemned the government. They have batted for press freedom. But they have also said that due process of law should go on. But there is a way to carry on the due process of law. Once when Zafar Bhai is saying that let evidence come and wait for the case investigations to be over and then please speak. So they could have done the investigations before. Just seize the laptops and mobile phones, ask them to surrender it and done their investigation. But the manner in which it is done, that is sending out a chilling message where I agree with Nalin also.
Okay.
That it disintensive.
Zafar Islam, again, is it not to send out a chilling effect? I mean, I am asking you perhaps this is the second or third time as to what is the justification for terror charges other than the fact that on these charges, everybody knows, any lawyer will tell you that it's very difficult to get bail. So you're basically taking this as some kind of an insurance to ensure that whoever is accused and whoever is arrested is incarcerated away for a few months at least. Because under UAPA, it's much harder to get bail than under regular sections of the IPC. Zafar.
See, Zaka, as I said, this is third time I'm repeating the same thing, that it is the agency, it is the police, they have the leads. It is not us which is getting this investigation done. The agency and the police, they have the evidence, they have the leads, they have certain information. I think you allow them to do the proper investigation and let the fact come out. And I'm sure that they, whatever charges they are slapping on these people, they deserve it, and that's why they are doing it, because at the end of the day they also have to go to the court
Zaka.
and defend it.
Yeah.
So why are you speculating at this point in time? Let the investigation be over, let the fact come out, instead of speculating, because they have the leads. None of us have the lead. It is the agency, it is the police which has the lead, which has the evidence, which has the information. And I think you allow them, because it has nothing to do with a fighting between two individuals. It is somebody who is working against the interests of the nation. And I think you should take it seriously instead of making this kind of allegation against the political party, against the government.
All of these journalists today are in a privileged position in as much as they have access to courts of law. And we have seen the Supreme Court and other various courts in this country, whether it is anchors that you don't necessarily agree with or that you don't like watching, their personal freedoms have also been protected by the Supreme Court. Even Siddique Kapan finally was given bail by the Supreme Court of India, right? So why not allow the due course of the law to go through? And the bar for evidence as far as UAPA, and you know this, Dr. Ajay Kumar, very well, because you've been a former police officer, the bar for UAPA, the evidence that you need to produce to stand test of a court of law is very high. And the onus for that, providing that evidence, is on the police. So let them provide the evidence.
So you got it all wrong. First of all, the onus is on the accused. So Zaka, and secondly, Zaka, I'm telling you, all the journalists and me, we need to be scared. You might keep pretending, trying to balance between emergency. We paid a price for the emergency and nobody defends 50 years back. But let me, if Adani gets Chinese money and you are employed under Adani, would you go to jail? First question, so you won't. Second question is, what happened to Dainik Bhaskar? What happened to Bharat Samachar? What happened to News Laundry? You raided. Do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? What is the evidence? You said they are doing nonsense. But why are... My question is, let us stop. And I heard Nalin speaking, it pains me. What are you talking? There are 360 journalists in jail. Navlaka, Gautam Lavlaka, Kapan for 5,000 rupees money laundering, thousands of crores is stolen. And we are not standing for the press people. You take action against if there is money laundering. But is there anybody who's spoken pro-government in jail? No, it is only people who are speaking against the BJP. The third point is on the journalists, they were not banned. We boycotted. And my God, yaar, some of them in your channel, Amish Devgan, out of 60 shows, I'll name them. Out of 60 shows, 37 Hindu Muslim, 27 Pakistan, and you have the audacity to tell me that we made a mistake, we are boycott.
No, I didn't say that. No,
we are not a government.
One second.
No, one second, hold it, sir.
Calm down.
You will let me complete, sir.
I will.
Either you let me complete. No, boss, don't call me on the show. Let me complete because I'm very aggrieved on this.
Why are you getting angry at me?
Do we boycott?
No. Why are you getting angry at me?
Because the kind of because you are saying we banned.
No,
who bans? We stop attending. I don't like your show. Yeah. If you're one-sided, I stop attending your show. That's my problem.
Fair enough.
It's my freedom.
Fair enough.
Because if you're no, you need to listen. In your TV channel, out of 60 shows, Aman Chopra, Final Solution, and you say you should attend that program.
No.
How dare you tell us that, out of 60 shows, now pull out the headlines. Let's have a debate. Pull out the headlines of 60 shows of Aman Chopra. No, sir.
Calm down for a moment, please.
No, sir. Pull out the headlines of 60 shows of Aman Chopra.
Why are you being like an angry young television anchor? Calm down.
No, because it's ridiculous.
I'm sounding calmer than you. I'm supposed to be the angry one.
I'm agitated with the duplicity.
No, one second.
I'm agitated
when
with
I
the
asked
duplicity.
that question to Sanjeev.
No, you pull out Aman Chopra.
When I asked that question to Sanjeev, I said I'm not getting into the merits or demerits of the decision or the individual anchors and their shows. I said that clearly even before I asked my question. Okay, number one. Number two, I was only drawing equivalence that if the party that is the state right now is using instruments of oppression and suppression against journalists, then the idea of a ban without the instruments that are there at the leverage of an opposition party, without those instruments, obviously only the party in the state has those instruments, without those instruments, you are the principle of a boycott or the principle of a ban of certain anchors. I'm not sure that adds up, but Feel free to disagree. I like I said,
Non-cooperation is Gandhi's
on this
non-cooperation.
show,
If
you can
Gandhi's
come.
non-cooperation,
No, no,
that's
you
my-
can.
no, my choice.
No, no, you can absolutely.
Gandhi's non-cooperation.
Absolutely. On this show,
So
I'm not going.
non-cooperation,
I'm
I
not going
refuse
to
to talk
muzzle
to
you for
Aman Chopra
saying
and Amit
what you
Devgan
feel like.
and
Okay,
Sudhir
so
Chaudhary
let's
and,
let's underline that. But
Navika,
Nalin
let me
Mehta.
name all of them.
Nalin
I refuse to
Mehta,
go to
the
that
point that
Gupta
Dr.
reality
Ajoy
show.
made, and I think he was a little aggrieved by what you said as well. But I think there is a larger question that he's also asking, which is that, how long will you draw this equivalence? Yes, emergency was bad. Nobody is saying that emergency was not bad. The fact that papers had to come out with blank editorials were horrible. That was perhaps the worst moment of our country as far as, press freedoms or even individual freedoms are concerned. But that happened 50 years ago. Surely the India of 2023 is not the India of 1975.
So I think so today there is a very sharp divide between those who are calling the organization NewsClick as an agent of a foreign government of China in particular, anti-national, and those who are feeling that look, even if some of them were wrong or some of them were guilty, there were others who've been brought into the net, which makes others afraid of speaking their mind. And I think what this is doing is that while we wait for the facts to come out and the details, these are very serious charges which should be taken seriously. The fact is that across the country, a lot of journalists who may or may not have agreed with the views of many of these people who've been questioned or who are being interrogated are now kind of identifying with them or saying, look, if this can happen to them, it could happen to me too, so I have to be more careful.
Okay. Sanjeev Srivastava, any country, any democracy, there are lines which if you cross, the state will act. I'm just giving you an example. You can call it, again, apples and oranges. But the fact is that the United States, which is the so-called, oldest democracy and big believer in press freedoms, and there's the First Amendment which protects the press and so on and so forth. A few years ago, they shut down an entire Chinese television station. They shut down some time back Russia Today because they were all considered and construed as foreign government agents, right? And foreign lobbying firms, not media organizations. Now, in this instance, if what the Delhi police is saying is true, and if what this FIR is alleging is true, that here was an organization that was receiving Chinese money from a person close to the Chinese Communist Party for favorable coverage for China, the Chinese government and the CCP, and disfavorable coverage to the situation in India as it existed, then what should the state do? Should it let it pass? Should that be considered kosher? Sanjeev?
Not at all. No, not at all. And see, when you give the example of Americans banning Russia Today or a Chinese company, this is an Indian company set up under Indian laws. And okay, I actually said that you can punish and arrest the owner and the proprietor and the person in whose bank account the money is coming. What do poor contributors do? Do we really believe that some of the names who have been questioned today could be part of some larger terror plot? They can be just at the most hapless victims if the worst case scenario comes out to be true, that this NewsClick is actually part of a very big nefarious design to destabilize and undermine and divide our country. But there is a way of doing it. Our objection is, and I think most journalists today, and I said that in my previous answer, I may not agree with so many things with some of the journalists who have been questioned today do or say, or what is their political view. That's the beauty of a democracy, that we are all entitled to our views. But to suddenly lump them as terror suspects and have this kind of a witch hunt, and this is not the first case. There is a pattern we have been seeing these past few years, which is worrying, which is a cause for concern, and which is my limited point really.
Okay.
That this should not happen.
Zafar, I'll give you the final word. Like I said,
even if the largest democracy,
even if the Delhi police's FIR and the charges therein, every one of it is true, then the person who is the beneficiary of that money trail, the editor / proprietor of that institution, he should be the one who should be questioned. by questioning contributors, and many of them, in fact, almost all of them, have been critical of Mr. Modi's government in the past. Aren't you trying to muzzle those people? Because if it was just a criminal investigation about money laundering and about, doing the bidding of a foreign government and a foreign party, then go after that organization and the people who are the owners and proprietors of that organization, not the people who are contributing there, who are writing for a salary or who are writing for a remuneration. By going after all of them, 37 of them, as the Delhi police says, you are trying to send out a chilling effect. That's the allegation.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Zaka. I think you are speculating time and again. So was Sanjeev Bhai. As I said earlier, that it is based on certain information. Those people who have been apprehended, the Delhi police has certain information, leads and evidences against them. That is why these people, not the entire organization, not everyone who was working there or been associated with the organization or been interviewed by this agency have been apprehended. But people who have been somehow connected with this malice are the ones who have been apprehended, and I think you should wait for the investigation to be over to get the facts and clarity. And people who are making this kind of statement should restrain.
Let's see how this plays out. For the moment, I want to thank Zafar Islam, Dr. Ajay Kumar, Nalin Mehta, and of course Sanjeev Srivastava for joining us. Let's see how this story plays out. As of now, like I said, 2 people have been arrested. One is the editor proprietor and the other is someone connected with human resources of that organization, NewsClick.